Welcome to the 5G Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
We hope you enjoy our conversations about God, guns, games, goals, and gastronomy.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode. And begin. Start blabbing about something important, quick.
We're not important to... all right, ready? Here you go. You hear about Hamas?
No.
This is like yesterday's news.
Oh.
Israel declared war on Hamas.
Interesting.
Not just like, oh yeah, we're going to defend ourselves. No, they're like, declared war. Because Hamas bulldozed down the wall that was separating them, fired like 80 rockets into the territory, and killed like hundreds of people.
That is grounds for war.
Yeah.
Wars have been declared for less, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
And wars have been started for much less.
But, yeah.
I mean, think about like the Trojan War. That was over a chick.
Hey, he stole my girl. So yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Speaking of like important things,
Yeah.
I guess ours isn't as important as that. But
I mean,
like last week's episode said, we're not a political show. So
no, we're a variety show. Talk about anything.
it's mostly true. We try to stick it within the 5Gs most of the time, but
Yeah.
sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't.
They're guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that.
Let's start it off with, or second it off with.
Second it off with
Yeah.
my grand apology.
That's
to
right.
all 13 viewers.
One of those YouTuber will have the thumbnail. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
YouTuber apologies.
The big eyes, like the little
Yeah,
teardrop
the
coming
fake
down.
tear.
Yeah. I think it was last episode.
Let me
Okay,
preface by
yeah.
saying I love hearing you talk about it because you're relatively new to Magic, and it's so cool to hear you have a passion building your own deck from scratch, and you're like, yeah, man, I love this game. I built my own commander deck. 100 cards to put in a deck is no easy feat. Like, and it's cool that you're just taking away with it. Like, this is your deck.
Yeah. So last time I said, oh, I've got 2 decks that I've made that aren't precons, and I want to adjust those ones to make them better. And then after I adjusted those, I would make what I'm calling my big green stompy deck, which is mono green, you big like utility creatures like mana dorks and like add 1/1 counters, and X creatures like
Big old Hydra.
and Tyranids, you know. And so after we recorded that episode, I was sitting and watching church, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put together the deck list. You know, I'm sitting here just watching some church. No big deal. I'll just throw together, like, I'll throw some cards in there and see what sticks, you know? And then about 3 hours later, I had a printed deck list.
You went to town and just finished the whole thing.
I haven't updated either of those other 2 decks, my Ninja deck or my Jund deck.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the Jund deck could definitely use some upgrades, but it functions pretty alright for what it is.
Sure.
The Ninja deck, I think, needs some tweaking. But yeah, my big green stompy deck is complete. Played a game with it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Performed reasonably well.
Very, very well.
I got almost all the lands out of my deck at one point.
Yeah,
that was
impressive.
I had about 30 lands on the board, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I had a creature card on the board that allowed all of my lands to tap for 2 colorless if they wanted to.
You were definitely a threat for a good portion of the game.
Well, yeah, turn 4 I got an 11/11 out.
11/11, yeah, with haste.
With haste and trample.
And it's not a Blightsteel Colossus.
No.
You didn't cheat it out. Like,
No, I didn't. It was literally, I ramped enough because...
all your mana dorks.
My commander's a mana dork, and she's only 3 mana.
So yeah, turn 1 mana dork, turn 2 cast your commander.
I did, yeah. And then turn 3 I cast another mana dork.
Different mana dork.
And then turn 4 I cast an 11/11 creature with trample and
haste. Protection from multicolored.
protection multicolored. Yeah. And so, and then I swung and no one had a blocker big enough to do anything. And so
I had 2 lands on the board.
yeah, it's like, yeah.
That was awesome.
So like, even though it's a big creature deck, and usually that takes a little bit longer to get on board, I feel like I have enough ramp, because I also have ramp spells in there, plus, what's the one that I played that like gets all my lands out of my deck?
Cultivator Colossus.
Cultivator Colossus, and I had drawn. I drew 50 cards.
Yeah, that's right.
After sacrificing my
Your Benevolent Hydra.
Was it Benevolent Hydra?
Yeah. Sure.
To the one spell, and Benevolent Hydra, when it dies, you draw cards equal to its power and gain life equals to its power, and it had 25 power, and then whenever there was the enchantment that I had was sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its power, discard 3. And so I drew 50 cards, which this was probably turn 10, 11.
If that, maybe 8.
So I had basically, let's call it 60% of my deck out. And then I played my Cultivator Colossus.
Which lets you just draw
and I drew obviously out of those 50 a significant amount of lands. And so I would play a land and then draw another card. And if it was a land, I'd just put it down and draw another one, right?
Yeah.
And then just do that until I ran out of lands to play. And so I probably drew, in those 2 turns, I don't know, 65 cards.
Yeah.
I mean...
It was pretty good. It was definitely I don't know, maybe on the upper end of the average showing for your deck.
Probably.
It was only 1 game.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would tweak anything.
Generally you gotta see a couple more games. At least to see. But
it's a pretty good showing though, first time out.
So far so good.
And what's nice for me at least about mono green is not complicated.
No, it's really not.
There's no cascade on a card. There's none. It's like big creature goes stomp. If big creature dies, sometimes do stuff. Sometimes ETBs.
Is it not complicated like the deck I played in the next game where I was casting?
Dude, that was Caleb and I, when we were driving home, we were talking about it. We're like, that was a hilarious game because he and I could have had another whole separate game being played because it was like probably close to 20 minutes between my turn. Like Caleb, because Colin had a bunch of stuff to do.
Yes.
You had a bunch of stuff to do. Hansen had a decent amount of, like, his turns weren't, like, obnoxiously long.
Yeah.
Like, yours and Colin's were, like, I would be sitting there, and Colin would be doing something, and and I'd be like, did my turn get skipped? Like, I feel like it should be my turn again already.
No, wait, it's just right after me. And
and he has, like, 17 cards on the board, or way more. He had, like, 30 cards on the board.
By the end, after you left, I think he went up to at least 30.
How long did that game last?
Oh, maybe another 5 to 10 minutes after you left.
Okay, so 1 turn.
Well, because it's like he had so much free mana banked up, and every time he cast an artifact creature, he drew 3 cards.
Oh, jeez.
And then he had all the cost reductions. So all of his artifacts were like 3 or 4 mana cheaper. So he's just like drawing cards, just digging for answers, basically. Trying to stop me from casting like 12 fireballs or whatever.
Like you did?
Yeah. That was...
So did he defeat those 12 fireballs?
No,
Okay.
he couldn't stop it. So at the end, we had this massive stack building of like, so I've got like 12 fireballs, and there's a counter spell, and there's your other random thing in there. And then at the very end of it all, or rather, at the end of it, so at the top of the stack, what I wanted to do first was I bounced all non-token creatures back to their hands. So that stopped Hansen had his wall of like hexproof indestructible set up. So actually, I couldn't target him with any of the fireballs.
Until those creatures were...
Yeah, so that's why at the last in, first out, board wiped, then fireball blew up Colin and you guys, even though you'd already left, but...
Yeah, we
it was a big stack.
Yeah.
You died somewhere down here in the stack, actually. But it resolved, it killed everybody except for Hansen. I had enough mana to shoot like 1 more fireball out on that turn, and then I still had my extra turn after that, so... I was like, I can draw 20 more cards, I'll draw a second fireball-like spell, and then I'll just blow you up for 20 again. Boom.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I've never seen you play that deck before, I don't think.
I try not to,
Because it takes a long time.
Even though I try to play it as quick as I can, because that does bother me when somebody like doesn't know how
Well,
the
but
combo deck works.
This is the thing, though. When you were playing your deck, it wasn't like I've played with a couple people where it's like they're on their turn, they like look at their card, and I'm probably guilty of this as well. Okay.
What do I do?
Okay. I do this. And then you were like, I do this, then this, then this. And it was constant. You just had a crap ton of stuff
Just
to do.
a lot to do, yeah.
Yeah. And so you weren't ever like sitting there like whiffling and waffling about like, do I do this card or that? You knew your plan. You knew how to play your cards and in what order and stuff like
So I
that.
try to do it as quick as I can. My little brother and I joke all the time because that's is it blue red. It's like we joke that I think I made the joke before. We say every Simic deck, every green blue deck is exactly the same. It's like, oh, a new Simic commander just released. What does it do? It draws cards and it ramps. That's what green blue does. So we have a similar joke for blue red. It's like every is it deck is exactly the same. Oh, what does it do? It takes 20-minute long turns and then it somehow combos and wins the game. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a snooze fest. Anytime like I pull out my is it deck, he's just like, and I'm like, shut up. I'm winning the game.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I joke about it, but I did make it to be a combo deck, and I know how it works. But sometimes it's just like, draw 20 cards. Nope, my combo piece isn't in here. Okay,
Draw another card.
another 20 cards next turn. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna see if I can make this work. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I was kind of I don't know what the right word is, bummed maybe. Because I was playing the Jund deck, and the Jund has some cool little like sneaky interactions.
tricks.
And I had my next turn was going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be a win the game turn or anything like that, but it was going to give me like a decent amount of value where I was going to ping people for damage and get creatures out and draw cards and scry and do all that stuff, right? Because my next card draw was a Goblin Bombardment,
There you go. Yeah.
and I had Squee the Immortal in my graveyard, and he cost 3 mana, right? And I had my commander out. I had a Viscera Seer out. I had Runati, whatever.
To get you the treasure tokens.
And so I had roughly 12 mana, and so 13 mana, 12 mana. So Goblin Bombardment is 2 mana. Play it, and then what I was going to do is Squee the Immortal, and then I was going to tap my artifact that gives him persist. And so basically I was going to get him onto the board 6 times.
Yeah, because you can cast them from anywhere. Yeah.
And because the artifact gives them persist, gives it to them until the end of the turn. And so, okay, the first time he comes out with a -1/-1 counter after he comes back, and then I sack him again before that -1/-1 counter kills him, basically.
Yeah.
So then he's dead. And then I just pay the 3 mana and cast him again,
recast
but he still has persist.
No. He forgets about the previous iteration of them.
But he hasn't... why?
Because
Caleb and I were talking about this, and Caleb, we determined that he would.
yeah, so it's the same thing if you blink a creature. He left the zone. So if you like blink a creature and then he comes back, he doesn't remember his previous buffs, his previous iterations. It's as if that was a different card.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's still technically the same creature because he's allowed to be cast from the graveyard?
Yeah. He still changed zones, so he forgot about his previous modifiers, basically.
Even though the card says they gain persist until end of turn.
Until end of turn, yeah. But it's that Squee, that one that you gave persist, is gone. He already died.
Interesting.
Yeah. The persist is a little weird because it does interact with the graveyard.
Yeah.
But persist is a weird one. That's why they don't do it anymore.
Sure.
Because it does deal with changing zones, so I know it sounds contradictory because it's like when he would die, instead he comes back with a -1/-1 counter.
Well, no, because he does technically die.
He does die.
And he does enter the graveyard.
You get dice triggers.
And you get enter the graveyard triggers.
It's dumb. It's dumb. But it forgot about it. The previous iteration. It's the same thing as blinking or exile a creature you control and then return it to the battlefield.
Sure. Well, I understand exile because that's the card is technically no longer even in existence after you exile it, right?
Yeah.
So,
But
interesting.
Unless it was give a creature card in your graveyard persist.
Well, technically the creature still has persist while it's in the graveyard.
No, see, it changed zones. So
But it has to have persist still, or else
I
it
know,
couldn't come
I
back.
know. Persist is dumb. Persist is weird. Right? But it's creature changes zones, and unless it says otherwise specifically, and persist is not one of those scenarios, it forgets everything from its previous.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, that makes sense. This leads us into our next topic then. You've become a level 3 magic judge. No.
Yeah. There's. I'm working on becoming a rules advisor,
Yeah.
which is the lowest tier of magic judgery. There's a there's rules advisor, and then level 1, 2, 3. For as far as official Magic the
They
Gathering
really should have
goes.
come up with cooler names.
I know.
Like you're a Magic the Gathering trading, like you're a nerd trading card game.
You're an L3 judge.
Like you should have come up with like apprentice wizard grandmaster or something
yeah,
like
right.
something.
Cooler name.
Anyway,
The rules advisor is the lowest tier, but it's the only one that you can do for free and without an endorsement. But it feels like starting a new job, so it's been kind of akin to me. They have these little training videos that you have to watch all the way through, and then you take a little quiz. It's kind of fun. The level 1, 2, 3 judges, yeah, you need endorsements to go up, and you have to pay like a yearly fee.
endorsements meaning someone has to
Yes,
up to
so-
another judge has to.
In order to become a level 1 judge, you need an endorsement from a level 2 or higher.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So it's like you got to start the networking. That's more important only if you're doing official Wizards of the Coast sponsored tournaments. Like when they do big tournaments, they have their official level 3 judges there. And those guys
Yeah.
are insane. That's like a full-time job, basically.
Yeah. I'm sure they get paid pretty well to do that as well.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at least the fee is like $100. Maybe it's only $100 a year to become a judge. So that's actually not that bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
But if you're not using it, it's not worth it for someone like me.
Sure.
But the rules advisor, the lowest tier, they say is good enough to run like game store events, like Friday Night Magic. You can run little tournaments at your local level. So it's like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to do, just to have that under my belt of like, yeah, I'm a rules advisor. I can.
And do you have to like re-up your training on that every
I
once
don't
in a
know
while?
actually. They have a portal to log in for it, so I'm sure it'll track it.
Sure.
There, and
and send
maybe-
you like an email like, hey, you need to take this refresher test
You gotta
every like
research
year.
every 3 years.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. I wonder, but it's been kind of cool. I've taken a couple of the classes so far. I think I got 3 or 4 more before my final test. And I started the first video and I was like, all right, I think I'm pretty good at Magic the Gathering. I'm something of a wizard nerd. Played the game 20 years. I go to watch the first video and it's like, here's the steps and phases of the turn. And I was like, oh no, this is gonna be like a tutorial to Magic the Gathering. And no, by golly, I was wrong. It was actually like, all right, here's the steps and phases of Magic. Here's what happens literally like in every single step and phase.
The phases of the phase.
Yes, basically. That's the actions of the phase. There's state-based actions and turn-based actions. And I was like, I didn't even realize that. But thinking back
State-based actions.
yeah, exactly. I could get real nerdy into
Well, I
it.
mean, maybe we don't then. Maybe we just give you one episode where you just explain the entire game to
all of
us.
it. But then the next video to give you another little it was like casting a spell, and it's like when you're teaching someone how to play Magic, you're just like tap the mana, cast the spell. Like it costs 3 mana. 3. Here's my spell.
That's how I play spells.
No, Steven. There are 8 steps to casting spells.
8?
You don't go through all of them. Sometimes you skip them, depending on the spell. But yeah, there's 8. And sometimes, honestly, there's like a secret one before the first one. Just depending on the spell. But yeah,
Jeez.
it's fun. It's 8 steps before you finally like put that spell down on the table. There's 8 steps in between that arc from your hand to the table, and it's like my spell is cast.
Jeez, Louise,
Yeah.
man.
It's pretty cool. I was like, this is in depth. I actually failed that quiz. You have to come back in 24 hours to take that one again. So I did, but
Wow.
it was pretty cool. It's just like, speaking of Fireball, it's like, I want to cast Fireball for X equals 4 mana. Describe the steps. in order. I was like, okay,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
So there's this game is so complex. There's so much to it behind the scenes that
Yeah.
like is it always relevant? That is a cool thing about Magic because it's like new players can just pick up a deck and play
Pick up big green stompy deck.
and just
Big creature go stomp.
tap mana, play creatures, turn them sideways. Like, and that's fun. Everybody can have fun at all levels, but then sometimes you need a judge. Sometimes the game gets pretty complex. So
Interesting.
it's neat.
Interesting. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. You've also been you want to do a Starfield update? I think you had that on the list here somewhere.
I
or
might
something.
save that one for next week. So maybe I'll give a little spoiler for it. There was
Starfield versus Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk 2077. You guys remember that game?
Came out 2 years
I
ago.
think 2 years ago.
2021.
They came out with an update, 2.0, which is first like big update to the game, and along with a new story expansion.
Oh,
But the base update to the game is free to everyone who already owns the game. Seen on it has been pretty good. People are saying like the game should have just released like this
really?
instead of 2 years ago. So that's why I wanted to maybe wait a week on that because I haven't tried it out for myself
Sure.
yet. But I've just heard, just because it's like a revitalization of Cyberpunk, and compared to Starfield, which is fresh on everybody's mind as like a first-person shooter, people are like, okay, maybe Cyberpunk's better than Starfield. Actually, I know there's like
Really?
some, there's obviously some differences. You can't fly around in space or whatever, but as
Interesting.
far as a game, as far as an RPG, like a lot better.
Interesting.
So
We'll have to follow up next week. You'll have to do
Yeah.
some personal research.
yes.
And speaking of research, I've been doing my own research into CS2.
Oh yes.
I don't know how to feel about it.
It's a game.
It is a game.
Yeah.
It is a game. I enjoy the new loadout system.
Okay,
How you can choose which guns to take.
that's cool.
Because now I can have the M4A4 and the M4A1S, which is nice. The new
I know you mentioned this before. The smoke looks good.
the smoke does look good. The smoke is cool.
They fixed
And,
it.
yeah, they did, and they it's the updated smoke lets you do a lot of cool things with smokes now because it's like affected by gravity as well.
Yeah.
And so you have if you throw the smoke just right in certain spots, like get your lineups and stuff like that, you can create kind of like a pillar of smoke instead of just like a bubble of smoke.
Yeah.
So it blocks a little bit more than it normally would.
Cool.
Not in like a game breaking way where it's like super OP,
this
but
is
it's
more
just
tactical.
it's really cool. And then the interaction with the bullets and things like that. Everyone was saying like, "Oh my gosh, if you're spraying through a smoke, like the first person who sprays their gun through a smoke is like gonna die." Right? I haven't found that to be the case. Like you spray through a smoke and then you move.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't just stand there after spraying through the smoke.
No.
You're like, "Kig!" No, you're gonna ba ba ba.
Is anybody gonna shoot me
Anyway.
back? Yeah, no. But so far, would you say you've had fun?
No. It's been part of it is that I don't think that everyone's kind of tiered out yet. And so you're either put with like your team is going to have the full spectrum of player levels
of like
right?
new players because it's a new game that just released.
And veterans of like they've got like the 15-year or like the 10-year CS badge. And so it's like
That's tough
and so like
because Counter-Strike is a game where you got the skill ceiling is like up here,
yeah.
and you have people up there. Like
Yeah.
plenty.
I've also noticed so there's that thing but that's going to fix itself, right?
Yeah, over time.
Like that'll fix itself. And I don't expect like Valve to come out and say like we're fixing something with it. It's like no. Like that's just a thing that's going to happen for a year while everyone figures everything out.
Yeah.
the gun sprays, like the spray pattern feels like they've changed,
Oh yeah, you mentioned
and the
that.
accuracy feels like it's changed. Like, or rather, like the number of bullets that you can like spray in auto before it starts actually like spreading
Kick in.
has changed. It's gone from like 3 to like 1.
Hmm.
And so you really have to just like one tap now, in my opinion. Like the AK is good still.
It's still good. Okay.
Still headshots all the time.
Yeah.
But with their new like sub-tick system, it feels glitchy.
Weird.
Because and if you look up online, there's tons of like TikTok videos and YouTube shorts and YouTube videos about this happening, where they'll like some guy will be like recording his game or whatever, and he'll like shoot some guy. His crosshair will literally be on the guy's face, and you'll see the mouse click, and then you'll watch the bullet go like past the guy this way.
Yeah, that is weird.
Because for whatever reason.
Because that's where his crosshair was right before he pointed.
It's
at the
weird.
guy's face. Yeah.
And then there are other instances where you won't be able to see, like, there's one spot where CT can peek. It's on Vertigo. CT can peek and watch the terrorists coming up the ramp, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very small spot. And if you move, like, if the CT guy moves either direction, he's like basically covered. He can't be hit. Like you can hit him like for reduced damage, like through a material in that spot, but you can't just like headshot him one shot, right?
Yeah.
And in this video, he gets headshot by the terrorist. The CT guy gets headshot by the terrorist after he was behind this box or this like the crane or whatever, and you like he like plays back the clip in slow mo, like frame by frame, and you can see him. His crosshair is on the guy's head. He shoots. It misses. He then moves behind the box. You hear the terrorist's gun go off, and he gets headshot. Whoa. And it doesn't count it as a wall bang or anything like that on the kill feed.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when it's a wall bang because it has like a little like...
It's got the penetration.
Yeah,
bullet
like
the wall.
thing.
Yeah.
And so it's just like...
Huh. So it hit him before he ducked behind cover, even though the bullet went past him.
Yeah.
That is a little weird. I have to imagine they would have worked things out like that in a beta. I mean, yeah.
Who knows?
Or Valve doesn't really do this, but some game developers just use the release of their game as a beta.
This is the thing, though, is that it's been released for beta testing for like 3 months now.
Yeah.
Before it got released to the public, it was like effectively released to everyone else, like to like the top. I think it was like the top 15% of players,
content creators,
but just like ranked players. Like if you like were ranked above a certain amount, or you had like X amount of hours on CS:GO, you got access, like pre-release access to. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so they had like it feels weird.
That is weird.
It feels weird.
I've been meaning to do some more research on myself on that, but my experience with Counter-Strike 2 so far has been installing the game 3 separate times this week.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a Steam issue or a Counter-Strike issue, but it's like I clicked install and then I left my computer installing, and then I come back the next day and Counter-Strike needs an update of 28 gigs, which is the whole size of the game. And I was like, update?
Interesting.
Came back the next day, same exact thing. So
interesting.
And then just yesterday, I had an update, but it was only like a gig.
Well, they just did an update that was a gig yesterday.
That's what I figured. I was like, oh, okay, this is like a normal hotfix. So
yeah.
I don't know what was going on before. I don't know if that was an isolated issue, but it was just like, I don't come home from work and it's like, okay, now I gotta wait for my game to install.
Well, if it's installed now, maybe we should do some research this afternoon.
Yes, we could. We probably could. Unless I have to reinstall the game, it should still be installed. So that's been my only experience so far with that. Kind of weird, but
yeah. I mean, you had notated on here that it was still.
I had looked up, even despite your reservations and some of the little rumblings I'd heard online, Counter-Strike 2 is still top of the Steam charts. It's still good in terms of players currently, I believe, and then top sellers is still up there because top sellers accounts like people actually buying the game. Even though if you had CS:GO before, you get Counter Strike 2 for free, but it's also all the boxes.
But you still have to click update for it to count, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But all the boxes, all the transactions they have, so it's still like top of the Steam charts, and I'm like, oh,
Dude, apparently,
I wonder what it would take to knock it off the post.
I think it's going to go gangbusters for a long. I think Valve is going to make so much money from this because of all of the collectibles, all of the NFTs.
Yeah, it's just NFTs.
It's just a centralized NFT. But I mean, the skins are going. From what I've seen, like people are spending oodles of money on boxes and cases and stuff.
Totally looked at that. The individual like, how's the market economy of Counter Strike 2 so far?
It's going gangbusters. It always has been though.
Yeah, it always has.
Like it always has been like amazing for Valve and for. I mean, it's honestly like a cool community thing as well.
Yeah.
Because
Shouldn't be a huge surprise.
No.
Yeah, they have done that.
no,
But it'd be kind of interesting that it's like I've seen more complaints about Counter Strike 2 than I ever saw about CS:GO,
yeah.
and then it's
Honestly, there are rumblings that they're coming out with a new operation, which is where like you get the different case types. They're operation cases,
like,
right?
Okay.
And they have the different skins for each. It's like a season almost, but they just call them operations, right?
Yeah.
And they don't last for like a ton of time.
Battle Pass, everybody loves it.
Yeah, similar to like a battle pass. But I've been thinking, because this is going to be CS2's first operation, of buying like a good amount of the cases and just holding them as an investment, and not like I'm not talking like thousands of dollars,
No.
like $100, $200. Might sell some of my crypto.
Just convert it to that. This is basically crypto.
Although I'm not selling any Bitcoin right now
No.
because people are saying that that's going to go to the moon because of
the
the
moon.
halving here in 6 months.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, it'll breach $100,000. And I'm like, well,
All right.
if I can turn my third of a Bitcoin
Yeah.
into...
My percentile.
I just have on my... it's not even... I don't even technically own the Bitcoin necessarily because it's on my Robinhood account.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not technically like... I don't have a
Yours.
Bitcoin on like a cold wallet or anything like that.
Yeah,
or a hot
yeah.
wallet even. I just have the ownership rights to a Bitcoin or part of a Bitcoin. But I've been like, you know, if I can make that little bit of money go. I just have my Robinhood spend like, I think it's like $10 a week or something like that to buy more Bitcoin
Nice.
shares.
Sure.
Just because.
Why not?
Why not? I did it with Dogecoin.
Oh, yeah.
I should have sold my Dogecoin a long time ago.
Yeah. But maybe.
I sold it for profit still.
That's good.
I sold all of it for a profit. But I should have sold it for a much bigger
That
profit.
was a fun summer. What was that, like 2 years ago? Dogecoin.
3 years ago? 2020, right?
Dogecoin was crazy for a couple months there.
Got up to freaking 70 cents.
Yeah, that was wild.
And I had like
All the beeves were
well,
great.
I had bought it at like 2 cents.
Uh-huh.
I bought like $100 of it at 2 cents. And then it went up to 70 cents, and I was like sitting there with like $9,000 of Dogecoin or something like that. And I was like,
What?
but everyone was like saying like, oh, it's gonna go up to $1, and I was like, well, I'll just sell it then, and make it freaking $10,000 or whatever, you know.
But alas, it did not.
It did not.
Sad.
And then I sold it around like 20 cents.
Yeah.
So I still went from 2 cents to 20 cents. So
Can't argue.
you know, 10x my money there.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. But anyway,
Continuing off of that previous topic, Counter-Strike still doing pretty good on the charts. I was looking at other random game news and also studying the charts. I like the analytics. New World.
good game.
It's a good game. It's an RPG we've played before. We've referenced before on the show. They came out with a new expansion this week, which is a paid expansion. It's more like end game content.
Oh, it's paid?
Yeah. I believe that's like the old model of MMOs. Was every couple of years you
Because
drop.
New World's free, isn't it?
Was it free or did we pay money for it? I don't
I
remember.
don't remember.
It's a good game either way. I would have spent $40 on that. $50.
I'm gonna have to go back on my Steam and look.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
It's a good game.
Yeah, so that they dropped like a $20, maybe $30 expansion, which like all the reviews about that, I don't know yet. It just came out this week, but they did release mounts finally. So
I did see an article about that. Yeah.
People are like, it's been 2 years, and finally we can like not fast travel, but you can travel faster in a big open world, which is kind of cool. Although people were joking about it, it's like $30 just for a mount, like that's the only content
Yeah.
you get. They were kind of blowing it out.
The
of
new weapons or
proportion.
anything like that?
Yes, they have a flail, I believe.
Is that a dex weapon?
I don't know.
Strength weapon?
I would guess it's a strength, maybe an alternative to like the sword and shield. You can do a flail and shield.
Interesting. I bet some of the abilities with the flare are sick.
It would look pretty cool. Sure. So, I'll probably look more into that, see some actual gameplay this week. It's not like super fresh.
Yeah.
But that was actually number 2 on the charts for sellers. And so they saw a resurgence in players where they jumped up pretty high in players. They might have been in the top 20 or something, I think, on like current players and on the weekday that I was looking. But they were number 2 on the top sellers chart. I was like, dang. And they jumped up like 60 spots there. So that's kind of cool. I mean, if you can't beat Counter-Strike 2, you're right under it. That's still a pretty good achievement.
Well, I mean,
So,
Counter-Strike 2 just has the most massive player base in the world.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, excluding Counter-Strike 2, you basically got number 1.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Counter-Strike is literally the biggest game in the world.
It's a league of its own.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, although there are a bunch of, sorry, not to keep harping on Counter-Strike, there's a bunch of pro players who are coming out and saying that if Valve doesn't fix the issues that it's having right now,
They're not playing.
they're going to boycott the pro tournaments.
Whoa.
And they're just like, they're like, teams are saying this, right? Like,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of like the top teams, like NIPS and
It's really weird. Because I don't
Or
know, you said
NIP.
the other week, you were like, I'm sure maybe it's just an adjustment. People just got to get used to the slightly new system. But now that you played it for yourself, it does seem broken a little bit.
yeah, like the gun sprays, like you just have to learn it again.
That's
right.
new, yeah.
Like that's fine. I don't love it that they change. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, but some of these seem like bugs.
Yeah, they seem like issues that, and they might not even be bugs necessarily. It might literally just be how it's designed.
Yeah.
But how it's designed is just bad.
That's poor then, yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. They might just be talking. I mean, it's only been out for a little bit, and they
Yeah.
still have to practice and stuff like that. The game looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The fire looks, the mollies look great. The smokes look great. The nades look great. The flashbangs are fantastic. You know,
Cool.
like customization is still like the loadout option is
The game's
awesome.
improved.
Oh yeah, the game has been yes, it's
Yeah.
like 90% improvement.
Mm-hmm.
10% is like, maybe we could have done better.
Yeah, sure.
But who knows?
yeah,
Maybe that's just me talking out my butt. I do that quite a bit, so
time will tell.
time will tell.
Yeah.
What is Redfall?
Yeah, exactly. That's like, I didn't want to just bag on this game, but I thought it was kind of funny to compare. Counter-Strike 2 just came out, top of the charts. New World had a new expansion, so they like revitalized
Yeah.
the player base. They're up on top. Redfall, everybody's favorite game from 2023. This game came out 6 months ago.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's published by a little studio called Bethesda. I
Wait.
don't know if you've heard of them.
Okay.
But the actual developer, they're Arcane Studios. You might not know them, but they made a game called Dishonored.
Yeah, I know Dishonored. Yeah. Those are like massive games. Didn't Dishonored 2 just come out like recently?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, not like
and it had a fair amount of content, DLC, and
Yeah.
everything. Like they kept the game alive for a few years. Like, yeah, and then Redfall was their newest game. Yep, published by Bethesda. They've made good games in the past. Yep, here you go.
didn't they just Bethesda Starfield and like
Yeah.
Skyrim?
Yeah, Bethesda publisher, and then Bethesda Game Studios also made Starfield.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's Bethesda. It's the same Bethesda.
Yeah.
It's done all of the Fallout
Okay.
games.
So what is
Skyrim.
Redfield?
Redfall?
Redfall.
Starfield. Redfall.
My bad.
No, yeah,
Redfall.
Redfall came out 6 months ago. Like a shooter game. To my understanding, it's like a vampire Left 4 Dead style esque type thing.
Oh, I think I've seen some content on this.
Probably from the 23 people who play the game.
Maybe? I don't know. I saw something about like a zombie shooter.
Okay.
This is like not this year though. This was like last year.
No, yeah, Redfall came out 6 months ago. I don't want to totally just bag on them for this section of our podcast, but I was looking at the Steam charts, the Steam players, and everything, and the numbers might be slightly different, all right? Because Redfall is on Game Pass, so it's like I can't get those player numbers for whatever reason. So maybe there's more people playing on Game Pass, but the Steam players,
Which is the Xbox.
yeah,
thing.
Xbox, Windows,
Yeah.
You pay a subscription of like $10 a month, and you can play a lot of Xbox, Microsoft games.
Yeah.
On your Xbox or your PC. It's cool. I've done Game Pass for a month or two here and there, but they were like on the U.S. servers. They were like, I think, yeah, joked and said 23. That might have been a generous estimate. There might have been like 16 people playing. I read some article that was like from this week, and they were like, yeah, currently there's like 3 people playing in Europe. You can filter it by Europe and the U.S.
And is it a multiplayer game? Ooh.
Yeah. It came out this year by like a big name
Ooh.
studio. It's like, dude,
Did they do any press about it?
I don't think so, other than putting it on Game Pass and then maybe just hoping that like...
Because I think I saw like one person play it, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting looking game.
Ooh, yeah, ooh.
Not one that I would be interested in because it
Yeah.
looks just like freaking Call of Duty mixed with vampires and
Yeah.
like random running up walls, and then like you get like weird sonar abilities.
I haven't seen a whole lot of gameplay on it either, so I can't really bash that aspect. But
They didn't do well on the promotion of that.
you would think with a big name publisher, they'd at least throw some money at advertising. Like,
Yeah.
they're not even with 17, with 20 people playing. There's not even a streamer on Twitch who's doing that. Like,
Indie games get more players than that.
yeah.
Easy. Like, how many
Easy.
people play, like, Deep Rock Galactic?
oh yeah, plenty. And it's got its own little culture. It's got the subreddit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, and that game got zero publication.
zero because they were an indie. They didn't have the money to
Yeah.
advertise. Like,
And that's a great game.
and it's a solid game. Yeah,
It's a fantastic game.
so,
It's a little bit grindy after you kind of...
yeah.
But,
But it's like they would deserve a little bit of press, a little bit of advertising.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
That's crazy.
Redfall. I just thought that was kind of interesting to bring up. Of like, okay, we talked about this before. I'm not a video game developer. I'm not a video game business guy. But
We've talked about becoming those.
yes, would be cool. And if we ever get the capital, we'll just do that. But screw it that bad. In less than a year, your game is dead. And it's a big, well-known game. If your indie game dies in less than a year, whatever. You should make another indie game.
Yeah, and also, like, indie developers, it's like, what, 4 people building a game?
Yeah.
You might, like, farm out. Like, you might pay some people to do some other stuff. But, like,
It sucks if it dies in under a year, but like,
it's kind of the chance you took,
yeah, exactly.
you know?
And hopefully your operating costs were cheap enough. You can do another one, perhaps.
Or you were doing...
Or you learn from it. You could spend some money differently the next
Or you're doing it
time.
as kind of like a little side thing, like you're a developer for someone else in the day, and then at night you're side gigging
Side
for whatever.
Mhm.
For Deep Rock Galactic. For
Yeah, exactly. But like, this is Arcane, who made Dishonored, which was an awesome game. I never played number 2, but I played number 1 at least twice. And published by Bethesda, who I think I played every Bethesda game.
Except for this one.
Yeah, except for this one. So, because I forgot about it 6 months ago when it came out. So, maybe I'll get Game Pass and just try it out. Which I think is $10 a month.
So maybe play it for a month and
But
then...
hopefully they have a single player. Again, I didn't even look at the game because
Yeah, if they don't have a single player, you're
Not
what,
gonna
you're
be
gonna
able to-
play against bots?
yeah,
And like,
not gonna be able to play with anyone.
I warm up on bots sometimes on CS.
Yeah.
If I'm like really like rusty, I'll be like, okay, I need some
That's
bots.
a little bit.
Just practice the headshots,
Simple.
practice the sprays, practice whatever.
Yeah. So,
Wow, that's rough.
right.
That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
That sucks.
Another
Another reason that we should just go into the video game business and just start buying up developers
apparently.
so they make actual good games.
It's just like again, I don't know what you did wrong here, but I can make some guesses.
And you and Caleb, I think, well, maybe it's just been you. Has Colin been playing Starfield?
Yeah.
I feel like you guys were all saying that Starfield is like very meh.
Those who were saying it's like a little bit better than me. I think I'm a little bit more on the meh.
You're on like a 5 out of 10 scale right
Yeah.
now. I think they're probably closer to like 6.5, 7.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Which 7 is an acceptable game.
Yeah, it's acceptable. It's not, it's playable. It's fine.
Yeah. I'd give Counter-Strike probably like 7.5 or 8
Right now? Okay.
right now.
That's cool.
CSGO, I'd probably give 8, 8.5.
Mhm.
Maybe, yeah, probably right there.
Okay.
In terms of like enjoyability, longevity,
Totally,
all of
yeah.
the. Ooh, maybe we should do that. We should come out with a rating metric for
Yeah.
video games
Rating metric. Unplayable game.
out of 0,
Yeah,
obviously.
Crash. Best game ever made. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. And obviously, we can. That'd be kind of fun.
But nobody.
No, of course not.
You gotta-
Highest you can get is a 9.99.
9 point. That's right. No perfect game.
What game would be a 9.99?
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's the top of like every chart. For whatever reason. And then I'm trying to remember. I just look at like
I'll bet you like Black Ops 2 is on there.
yeah, they're like the Metacritic does like out of 100, IGN does out of 10. And so it's fun to like look at the top games on some of those like well-renowned
Yeah.
sources. And it's like, yeah, nothing's ever a 10, but it's like, yeah, the 98 or 9.9.
It's like effectively a perfect game.
yeah, it's generally at least the Legend of Zelda, and there's a couple other like classics I can't really
Yeah.
think of off the top of my head, but
Yeah. Anyway,
that'd be fun. Shall we talk about the big
the big release of the week. We've been how much time we got left?
30.
Oh,
plenty?
plenty of time. The new Magic set is coming out here. The Doctor Who set.
Doctor Who Commander decks plus collector boosters.
I'm not gonna lie. I've watched like one episode of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Not my TV show.
Yeah, no.
Like, I understand that there's like a maybe not cult following behind it, but kind of a cult following behind it.
Mhm.
And like it's fine.
Yeah,
Like it's a reasonable TV show to have like enjoyed.
sure. Yeah.
Right? Like I get it. It's not like bronies. Don't
yeah,
get
no,
that.
no, it's not.
Like I understand people who like Doctor Who.
Cool. Yeah.
These cards, I'm pretty pumped for them.
Mhm.
If I'm not gonna lie, like I've seen some pretty cool cards
Yeah, yeah.
come out, and I kind of wanted to ask you about some of them because from what I've like looked at them, I'm like this kind of seems a little bit broken,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
And like I texted you about one that seemed like really good. Sorry, I gotta
Oh yeah.
adjust myself here.
Sure, sure.
My knee's starting to hurt.
Gotcha.
But let me
Yeah. I would say as you pull those up, overall, I'm a little bit torn, right? Because I don't want to be a hypocrite, but on previous episodes, I've been like, the Doctor Who cards they're a little cringe because it's like some of the new effects are like just weird things, weird new rules and new keywords, villainous choices. Just it
yeah.
doesn't feel like it fits in my game of Magic: The Gathering. But then I'm torn because yeah, some of the new card designs are pretty cool. Like as far as from a gameplay standpoint, totally separate from the Doctor Who, the flavor, whatever. They do have some pretty cool looking designs, and I'm like, man. So I do believe this set comes out soon-ish. Maybe by the time this episode releases, I think they're out that Saturday or the weekend after. Either way, they're coming out soon. Again, overall, generally, I think they seem almost a little difficult for like new players to pick up. Some of the
Yeah,
some of
they're
the new mechanics I've
they seem very difficult.
seem a little complicated on some of them, and I'm like trying to get like Doctor Who fans into Magic, and this is more complex than like the Dungeons and Dragons decks were
Sure.
as far as getting new players. So I'm like,
Sure.
that could backfire.
To be fair, if you are going after like a target audience, which that's kind of what these universes
You're
expanded.
combining the nerds.
Yeah, and so like people who have watched Doctor Who, or are Doctor Who cultists, let's say,
That might be a little far.
who enjoy Doctor Who, then
They're called Whovians.
From Whoville, is that Whovians from
I
Whoville?
didn't come up with the name, but yeah.
Oh, that's like legit. I thought you made that up right
No.
now. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's their fan name.
That's hilarious. It's like
Yeah, like-
Trekkies.
Yeah, Trekkies or what are they called? The Harry Potter fans? Not that they had a name.
Muggles.
But they're not Muggles. They're Muggle wannabes.
I don't know.
Harry Potter people.
Yeah, I don't know. Pottermores?
Potter heads.
Potheads?
Potheads. Yeah, Whovians.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
What do they call us? Planeswalkers. Yeah, nobody calls us that.
I wish.
That'd be cool.
I wish, yeah.
Yeah, no. They just call us nerds.
Dorks.
Surprise, you losers.
Surprise losers, you're dorks.
Sorry to sidetrack you from your point.
People who Whovians
Whovians.
are I just whenever that word behind you like behoove.
It behooves you.
Yeah, the Behoovians. The people I can't call them
No,
Whovians.
it's fine.
The people who like follow Doctor Who are probably generally more nerdy and into that type of thing anyway.
Yeah.
So they might be able to it's not like people who are into like Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is a very straightforward fantasy genre, and most people aren't probably into nerdy stuff with that.
Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously generalizations,
Sure.
I would say, but that's kind of like the vibe I get from
Okay.
Whovians. Ugh. I don't like it. It's making me grossed out. Anyway, they had the new card type, which is Time Lord.
Yeah, get a new creature type. Yeah.
Sorry. Creature type, which is a Time Lord.
Which we have talked about is funny because it's two words and it just like the internet blew up of like, is it creature type time plus lord? Time Lord? Is there a hyphen? And people are like, as far as the rules of Magic, is just our minds broke.
Yeah.
But Time Lord.
So, and usually most of like the main character cards, like the doctors, are double creature types, Time Lord, Doctor.
Yeah.
So there's now Doctor creature types as well, which is interesting.
Yes.
So one of the cards that I thought was quite fascinating, and I thought had like some huge win con potential, was Gallifrey Stands. Gallifrey Stands? Gallifrey.
That's the name of the Time Lord homeworld.
Stands. It's a legendary enchantment for 6 mana.
Okay.
Have you seen this one?
I believe so, but go ahead and
It's
read it
interesting.
We'll put it up on the
It's
screen.
interesting. So it's a white and blue and 4 colorless. Then whenever it enters the battlefield, return all Doctor cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, so it doesn't have an immediate payoff except for getting more creature cards into your hand, which you can then play if you want to spend the mana on.
Yeah.
It's kind of expensive, but anyway. Beginning of your upkeep, you may put a Doctor creature card from your hand onto the battlefield.
Get a free creature.
Then, if you control 13 or more Doctors, you win the game.
Yep.
So,
It's pretty cool.
the ETB is meh, in my opinion.
If you already had a lot of them die, you get them back in your hand.
And it's 6 mana, so maybe it's like mid to late game,
But if you're hoping for that to return
13 of them?
13, you have to discard the hand size.
Yeah.
So that turn before your upkeep trigger next
My question,
turn.
blue and white creates tokens quite easily.
Yep.
And it doesn't say that they have to be non-token doctor creatures.
Non-token doctor.
It's just doctor creatures. And so I could think of, off the top of my head, a couple of ways where you could just, like, make a copy of a copy of a copy of, like...
Just proliferate all the copies.
Yeah. And just, like, by your next upkeep, have 13 doctors.
Yeah.
And then, like, you'll make yourself the target, but...
Sure, because anytime somebody sees that phrase, you win the game,
Yeah.
it's like, that guy's the enemy now.
But, if you have, Teferi's Protection, you just Teferi's Protecting yourself, and then you win.
You just disappear, you phase out until your next turn.
And then, like, unless someone else, like, figures out how to win the game before you in one
they
turn...
could maybe kill you, or again, if they combo off or whatever, they win the game before you.
But if you have Teferi's Protection, they can't kill you.
Commander damage. Commander damage can still kill you.
Oh, even through Teferi's Protection? How? Because you phase out as well.
Your life total doesn't change, is the wording on Teferi's Protection. A lot of people misunderstand it, and I think we've even talked about that before after you open Teferi's Protection. But it just is, your life total doesn't change. People can still attack you. You have nothing on your board. All of your permanents phase out.
Yeah.
And your life total can't change.
But to commander damage...
Commander damage still tracks, though.
Because technically the damage is still dealt, your life total just doesn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
It's weird, but that is one way around Teferi's Protection.
So if they have a Voltron deck, you're screwed with Teferi's Protection.
If they can deal 21 damage to you.
In one turn. Or if they've,
If they've already accumulated it, great, but yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Nonetheless, like that would be, Teferi's Protection, and then
you're pretty well protected.
Pretty close to winning the
95%.
Yeah, like you've got a 90% chance easy of winning the game right there and then.
If you get your 13 doctors back on the board and
yeah.
I mean that would definitely be the way to go, because it's like casting all 13.
Oh, that'd be impossible.
I don't know about that. Yeah. You can't do a with none of the precons, but you can do some meshing and mixing with, like, I think a different commander. You can run all 13 doctors in a 4-color deck.
Oh, interesting.
They're all of the non-black. So blue, white, red, and green is all of the doctors. If you wanted, that is something you can do, but make your own deck around that.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting.
The other cheesy thing that I believe I've at least heard online on Reddit, I haven't seen the specific ruling on Wizards of the Coast for the Doctor. I think changelings count as doctors. Don't quote me on this one.
Well, they have to, because they can be any creature type.
Yeah.
And Doctor is a creature type.
But not always. Sometimes it's just in the title. Do you have a Doctor card pulled up there?
Yeah, right here. The third Doctor. He is a Time Lord Doctor.
He's a Time Lord Doctor. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Because I could have sworn I'd seen one of them that wasn't, and I was like, wait a second.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I could be wrong.
In that case, but like if it's in the creature type, they can be any creature type, right?
Yeah.
Or
So
they are all creature
then
types.
you only need 13 changelings, which is also probably easier. Yeah. But yeah, so
I mean, in my opinion, this card, like, if you have a token deck that has like a changeling token deck, throw that in there and you win the game.
Yep. There's a lot of cards in those sort of, like, I'll call them tribal decks, where it's all about the changeling or one specific tribe. There's a lot of cards that will change all of your creatures to one specific type.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
Or like choose a creature type. All of your creatures are that type of creature, or whatever. Yeah.
I have one in my Knights deck that makes all of my creature cards in my graveyard Knights specifically. So I can make them all doctors and then get all the doctors back.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I thought that one was kind of an interesting card.
Pretty cool.
Maybe not like OP, but like definitely cool.
Yeah, it's unique for sure.
Then the third Doctor was another one that I thought was really sick.
Yeah.
Which he's a 4-mana 2/2.
It's pretty bad.
Green and blue.
He's gonna draw cards or do 1/1 counters. You already said it to me this week, but I can't pretend I don't know it. But
he has trample, a 2/2 with trample.
It's better than 1/1s with trample.
That's just hilarious, though.
They printed that.
The third Doctor gets a 1/1 counter for each non-creature token you control.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like, okay, well, like, what is that? Well, treasure, food,
treasure, food,
clues. Power Stones,
Power Stones.
which are the most pointless token ever.
Yeah.
And then, when the third Doctor enters the battlefield, create your choice of a clue token, a food token, or a treasure token.
Yep.
So if you kind of like net him out, he's a 4-mana 3/3 that could be a 3-mana 3/3 with a treasure token.
Sure.
So he's a 3-mana 3/3 with trample.
You refund it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking like his net, right?
Definitely.
My thought was just to build a freaking Voltron deck with him and just have all of the food, all of the treasure, and all of the clue tokens.
Yep.
And just like throw some like lightning greaves or whatever, these swiftfoot boots and whatever Voltron deck stuff, and like trample is great all the time.
Stapled on your commander.
And then you create non-creature tokens, whatever you want to do. Like,
there's tons you can do with that. He makes clue, food, and treasure. You can just do that.
Only when ETBs, but
Yeah, when ETBs.
if you can figure out how to like continually bounce, like meh.
Yeah, he would lose the counters every time you bounce him though, so find
Mm,
some way.
yes and no, but it doesn't matter if you bounce him.
Yeah, I'm saying like if you already have like 10 1/1 counters on him, because he's your Voltron commander, you buffed him up, and then if you exile him and bring him back, he loses the counters.
But he would gain them again.
Oh, because it's for each.
For each non-token creature you control.
Oh, sure.
So you just bounce him infinite times or whatever.
Yeah. If you keep like if you're not burning your treasures to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I still have 20 tokens here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine then.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot you can do with the deck. It is pretty cool. Non-creature tokens is interesting. At the very least, if you're food, clues, and treasures, you have mana, you have card draw, and you have life gain. So those are all sub-themes you can go with off of that. Like, you're generating artifacts, which in green and blue, blue has some synergy, not so much green. So yeah, it's neat.
I've thought about making him my what is green blue called?
Simic.
Thought about making him my Simic commander.
Simic Stompy. Simic Voltron.
Simic Voltron is kind of
That's cool.
And then let me.
Well, I have a counter to that. The one legendary commander that I picked out to talk about. He's actually there's the Doctor, right? Who's always the main character, and he goes through all the regenerations.
Yeah.
His counterpart, his evil foil character, is called the Master, and he's same thing. I mean, he's got a bunch of different incarnations. The Master, and the one that I picked is red-black. He's 4, a black and a red, 6 mana, 4/3, legendary creature, Time Lord Rogue.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he has Myriad. So if you remember Myriad, when you attack a player, you make copies that attack every other opponent. And you think, Myriad on a legendary creature. That doesn't make sense, because then the copies just die. His next line of text is, the legend rule doesn't apply to creature tokens you control. So you can make legendary creature token copies, and the legend rule doesn't apply. But Myriad is just, you make them for the combat, and then I think you sacrifice them at the end of combat.
Yeah.
So you just have tokens just to get some more damage out. It's pretty cool. His last line of text, 6 mana, 4/3, it's got to be pretty good. Triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control. Which is unique. That's why I started off with the kind of torn.
So the Myriad doesn't even like...
That he stays around. You attack one player in a 4-player commander game. You make 2 token copies to attack the other 2 players. And then at the end of combat, Myriad has a triggered ability that would make you sacrifice them. But instead you just keep them. So,
and then if you attack
again,
with all of them, you make
more
9 or 6 more of them.
6 more of them, yep.
Well, no, 9 more, because it's 3 times 2. Hold on. You attack with 1, you make 2. Yeah, so it doubles. It triples the amount. So if you attack with 3, you would make 6. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Assuming all of the opponents are still alive at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. Does it? Okay. Here's a question.
Mm-hmm. There's tons of rules questions for this, because it's first line of text that's popped up like this.
He's a legendary creature. He can be your commander. Is a copy of your commander commander damage?
No.
Because it's a separate card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Funnily enough, though, if your commander, for whatever reason, has a morph or it gets manifested or whatever, that counts as commander damage. If your commander gets flipped, it's super weird because it's like the same card.
Interesting.
Yeah, commander rules is like a whole other beast as far as like color identity and commander damage and all of that. So it's like, yeah, the copies don't count, but yeah, if you get 21 damage from this card, you lose the game, yeah.
Interesting.
So he copies himself. That's why his name is the Master Multiplied. And I do remember seeing that episode. He did copy himself on a bunch of people. So that was kind of cool. It's fitting. Taking that effect just like to other things you can do in Rakdos and Black Red. There's tons of things where it's like, oh, you can, one of my favorite ones is called Sneak Attack. It's a pretty powerful enchantment. It's like 4 mana, but then you pay 1 red mana, and anytime you want to drop a creature from your hand onto the battlefield, it gains haste, and then you sacrifice it at the end step.
Oh.
Then it only works for tokens, so you find some way to make tokens of things that die, and you're golden. And there's tons of them. You can't sacrifice your tokens. So Myriad is one of the best ones, so that's kind of a newer keyword. It's not super common.
Yeah.
But there's a lot you can do with that.
I mean, can you imagine tripling your... Like, so you go from 1 creature, turn 1, or turn whatever.
Yeah.
To 3. So that's turn 1.
Yeah.
Turn 2, you go to 9.
Yeah. That's all.
Turn 3, you go to 27.
That's way out of hand.
27 6/6s?
4 threes.
4 threes.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's over 100 damage.
And even if they kill the original at that point, it doesn't matter. Like,
no, because they all have it.
yeah, they are all this text. Yeah.
Like a board wipe or bust is basically like you gotta kill. You target one of them. Oh no.
Yeah, and then paired with anything else you're doing in the deck. You're like, yeah, I'll make token copies of all this stuff, and they die at the end of the turn, except they don't. Like, even just recently, I can think of like the new zombie mechanic was Decayed. You make a little zombie, they attack and they die at the end of combat. They won't die at the end of combat. You don't have to sacrifice them. So it's just a simple one, at least. Triggered abilities can't cause you to sacrifice or exile tokens. It's weird, but it happens more than you think.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Uh-huh.
That sounds like kind of maybe a little bit broken.
If you build around it right, I think you can be. But also, it's a 6 mana commander. So, 6 or 7 mana commanders, you generally only want to cast once in a game, and then hopefully you're winning.
It's true.
Yeah.
I have another card for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Me the Immortal?
Maybe.
M-E,
Yeah, me.
the Immortal. It's a legendary creature, human rogue, not one of the doctors.
Okay.
It's a green, blue, red, and 2 colorless to cast, so 5 mana, 3/3. But then at the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a 1/1, a 1/1 counter, a first strike counter, a vigilance counter, or a menace counter on Me the Immortal. Counters remain on Me as it moves to any zone other than a player's hand or library.
There you go, yep. All that earlier I was saying about, when creatures change zones, they don't remember anything about the previous zone.
This one does.
This one does.
Then you may cast Me from your graveyard
You
by
go.
discarding 2 cards in addition to paying its other cost.
That's cool. That's cool. They clearly built that for Commander.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
Definitely Voltron command.
Yeah.
This is
+1/+1, first strike,
vigilance and menace.
vigilance, menace. Yeah, so it's like maybe you want.
And it's green, blue, red.
Those are really easy to pump.
Green?
Yeah.
I can think of a couple of greens that just gives me green.
Yeah, I mean, you probably want maybe 1 or 2 +1s right away because it's whenever they attack.
No, at the beginning of combat.
The beginning of combat. Okay, the beginning of your combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you want a +1 or 2 just to be a little more survivable. But then once you get first strike, vigilance, and menace, that's all +1/+1 from there.
Yeah.
And you can't get rid of them.
Yeah. And honestly, put some sort of one of the hex-proof artifacts equipments
protection.
on it. Some sort of protection from colors or whatever, and
It's cool. Recasting from the graveyard's always good.
Yeah.
Get around the commander tax.
I don't know if you have another one. I have a couple here that I was like,
Yeah,
kind of sick.
I pulled out 3. So I pulled out probably my favorite commander there. I've got really sick new removal spell I really like.
Oh, what is it?
It's called Cyber Conversion.
Oh, I didn't pull that one.
This one, I think, out of all the like instants and sorceries I saw, like this one's a solid piece of removal. It's 2 blue, so that limits it. But I like it because it's creature removal in blue, and that is something blue struggles with. Other than counter spells, it's like once a creature's already on the board, it's kind of hard for blue to get rid of that. So Cyber Conversion is 2 blue instant. You turn target creature face down, and it turns into a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature.
Interesting.
One of the villains. So
Interesting.
it's like they have one similar that's 1 in a blue, so it's 2 mana, where it's like you exile a creature and then they manifest the top card of their library, so they get a 2/2.
Oh,
But then that card they manifest, if it's a creature, they can flip it over.
sure.
This one is like that creature is getting flipped over.
And you can't. It's not like you can't manifest.
No,
it.
you can't manifest it. Weirdly, if you flipped over a morph creature, I don't know why you would, you could flip them back over for the morph cost. But you're not casting this on morph creatures. You're casting this on commanders, basically.
Yeah.
It's just like, your commander,
Or you're a Natali or something.
yeah,
like
a
that.
really annoying creature. Now he's just a random 2/2. That's fine. I don't care about a random 2/2.
Swing at me with it. Who cares?
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty strong. I can put that in several blue decks.
They also have. Did you see Flatline?
No, I don't.
It's another blue instant kind of combat trick. It's 3 mana, 2 colorless and a blue instant. Creatures your opponents control have base power and toughness 0/1 until end of turn.
Oh, nice.
So it just nerfs it. It's like
That's good. I have a deck for that. Yeah.
it's just like it's kind of a different form of a fog
Yeah.
almost.
It can be.
It can be devastating.
It's a combat trick. Basically, it is the best way to use it as a combat trick. Unless in my deck that I haven't played this one in months because I think it's pretty toxic. It's Toxrill.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's the slug that gives all of your opponents -1/-1 counters on all their creatures.
yeah.
So I have a couple effects like that in there, but that's like redundancy. It's a solid
Yeah.
one. Turn all your creatures into 0/1s, and then I think his is like every upkeep, every opponent's creature gets a -1/-1 counter, so they're all dead.
Yeah, well, if they already had it,
If they already had it, they turn to 0/1 and they die.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's fun.
especially if you had like a combination of those two, and like against like a tokens deck where like Caleb's Goblin deck where he
Okay.
gets like 30,000 goblins or whatever.
Yep.
It's like, oh
Yeah,
well,
that's why I don't play that deck anymore. It's too good.
yeah,
Because it's anytime a creature dies, I get a 1/1. So it's like, I fill my board with slugs.
yeah,
Toxrill the slug.
it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have another one or
Yeah, this is my last one. I picked one more just fun card. Maybe the best creature to come out of Doctor Who.
Ooh,
Clickbaity. Displaced dinosaurs. It's just funny. I
there was like a dinosaur theme, like
think it happened in one of the episodes. I don't remember if it was from old Doctor Who or what, but
sure,
some time stuff. Dinosaurs came to real life Earth or whatever. But yeah. So at first glance, I was like, "Oh, this is just like a meme or whatever." But second glance, I'm like, "Actually, this would be a pretty fun card. If this was a commander, I would almost build around this."
really,
He's a 7 mana, 7/7 dinosaur. He's just green.
Sure.
5 and 2 green. It's as a historic permanent. And I'll remind you that's artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic.
sure.
So any artifact, legendary, saga, as it enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur in addition to its other types. Yeah. 7/7 dinosaur creatures.
Dude, so is it green?
It's green, yeah.
So pair that with my the other guy
Uh-huh.
who makes token, or like the token Voltron guy that I wanted to do. It's a treasure token is an artifact treasure. It's an artifact.
All of your artifacts are 7/7 dinosaurs.
Only when they ETB though?
Yes. So
Okay.
when they ETB, they become the dinosaur.
So it's not all your existing ones.
Yeah, so this guy's got to be on the board. And then, yeah, any further ones. That's why it's like I almost want him to be the commander.
Yeah, for sure.
To build around, because I want to guarantee I have that. But
Yeah.
it seems fun. There's a lot of 0 mana artifacts. Ornithopter. is just like
Oh,
zero
yeah.
mana 7/7 dinosaur. In
Oh,
addition to its other
yeah.
types, an ornithopter is flying.
Oh, shoot.
Even more fun. All right, artifacts. We covered that. Legendaries. Yeah, I'm gonna cast this planeswalker that's also a 7/7 dinosaur and attack you with my dinosaur planeswalker, and then use his loyalty ability.
And also sagas as well.
Sagas randomly your attack with your enchantments.
Sure.
Sure. My enchantment's just sitting there getting me value anyway. Now I have a blocker.
And a 7/7 blocker is like,
That's pretty chunky.
yeah. I mean,
That's-
not like crazy chonky, but like,
That's worthwhile.
oh yeah, for sure.
If you get in for 7 damage somewhere that you weren't planning on anyway, because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just a planeswalker or whatever.
Yeah.
7 damage.
That's pretty good. He's not a legendary creature,
No,
though?
it's not legendary.
That sucks.
So you can actually play him in a Pauper EDH, because he's uncommon. Pauper EDH is
Only uncommons, right?
it's your commander is any uncommon creature, and then it's all commons.
Oh, gotcha.
It's developed from the actual format Pauper, where your 60 card deck is all commons.
Sure.
So Pauper EDH to let you have one uncommon as your commander.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and then, I mean, there's a bunch of common artifacts and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah,
You could honestly do, like, artifact tribal.
would be the easiest way to do it in Pauper, because I don't think you're getting many legendaries that are common.
You know,
Kinda
you just
like
do
all-
artifacts and sagas, figure out how to make treasure tokens or food tokens or any token,
You
or like
can look at
artifact
some
token
sevens.
or whatever. You
It's
know,
like, oh, that's fun. It's the dinosaur who turns artifacts in
Soul Ring becomes a whole heck of a ton better.
1 mana, tap for 2 mana,
7/7.
also a 7/7 dinosaur. He's just like wears the soul ring on his neck or something.
The rings of power.
Everything's a dinosaur.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's all right. That's fun.
That's a cool one. That's a cool one. I've got one last. Well, I had a couple, but how much? We're running low on time here. Maybe I'll shoot a couple more off at you.
Sure.
I found this was kind of fun. It's the Cult of Skaro.
Oh yes, one of the legendary Daleks.
Yep, legendary artifact creature.
Creature.
And
Now he's a dinosaur.
it's a Dalek. Artifact creature Dalek. It's 4 mana, 4/4. Not horrible. Blue, black, red.
Which is the evil deck.
Yeah. Then whenever it attacks, whenever Cult of Skaro, the card attacks, choose one of these options at random, and there's 4 options.
4 options because the Cult of Skaro is 4 Daleks
Uh-huh.
from the show. I vaguely remember them.
So, and it has the names of each Dalek.
Yeah.
So it's Fae. Put a 1/1 counter on each artifact creature you control.
That's good.
Con, draw 2 cards. So when I was reading this, I was like, none of these are bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever you attack, just do something great.
Sec, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And Jost.
Just.
Jost? I think it's Jost. Each opponent loses 4 life.
Yeah, wow.
It's like,
None of those are bad.
no.
That's whenever it attacks.
Whenever it attacks, it's an attack trigger.
There's ways to double attack triggers. So then you can pick 2 different options. Oh, yeah. That's fun. And it's probably going to be...
Couldn't you just Thran Dynamo? Not Thran Dynamo, Strionic Resonator?
Yep, to
Because
copy
it's-
a triggered ability.
Whenever is a trigger,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
It's a trigger word.
So you just pay a couple more mana. Pay what, 3 mana?
Yeah.
Is it 3 mana to tap and tap?
Two
Two and tap Strionic Resonator?
The
And
cool
then,
thing about those modal abilities is that you would get to pick a different mode.
well, you have to choose it at random, though.
Oh, you choose at random. I forgot about that. That's still good.
So none of those are bad things.
Yeah, because it's at random, you probably want, obviously, if your deck wasn't doing this, but the artifact creature strategy,
Yeah,
in case it buffs all your artifact creatures.
Yeah, for sure.
+1.
for sure.
But
But
that's fun to do.
drawing 2 cards, never a bad thing.
No.
Creating
Making another 3/3
a 3/3
artifact creature.
Dalek creature token with menace
is good.
good. Then each opponent
Each opponent-
each opponent loses 4 life. Each opponent loses 4 life. I mean,
I'll take 2 of those.
that's 10% of their health.
Yeah.
Like,
Plus the 4 damage he's swinging. And does he have menace himself?
no.
Oh, okay. I almost wish he did, but maybe that'd be too good.
But honestly, like, I don't know if I'd build like a. I mean, you kind of almost have to build it, kind of like protect your commander
Yeah,
because you want the trigger to go off over and over and over
you
again.
do, you do. You want your commander to be alive, but you also want a decent army.
So you have to figure out how to put like either counters or protection on this guy,
Mhm.
but not like a ton to make him like Voltron. He necessarily.
No.
I think the strategy is.
He's an integral part of your strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not winning with him.
Yeah, you're not. It's not commander damage win.
That's like my werewolf deck. I don't really protect my commander all that much, but he is an integral part. So I think you would kind of build like a tribal deck,
Yeah.
which is cool because in Grixis, that's blue, black, red. I don't really think we've seen an artifact creature go wide.
Yeah.
So that's neat.
It's kind of
Grixis is normally like spell slinger, tricksy,
Oh, sure.
counter spell, graveyard and stuff. But it's like, yeah, that's different.
That is cool.
You got one more there?
I got one more.
Cool.
Just I'm trying to figure out which one I want to show you here.
Oh, gotcha.
There's another blue counter spell or a blue instant that's kind of fun.
All right.
And you know what? I'll do both of them.
Sure.
Why not?
Rapid fire.
It's the blue instant is a 3 mana, 1 and 2 blue. It's choose one. Counter all other spells.
Oh, yes. I did.
Switch each creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Creatures can't be blocked this turn.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to throw it in my ninja deck.
Modal spells, man. Modal spells are good.
And 3 mana, not too expensive.
No, it's like 3 mana counter spells have to do something for you. Because in this day and age, we have enough 2 mana and 1 mana counter spells where it's like just a 3 mana counter target spell is not good enough anymore in Commander.
Yeah.
So you really need them to do something else. And so that's a pretty good something else because modes are cool.
Yeah.
They give you something to do.
The next one is my dinosaur.
Mm.
It's Flaming Tyrannosaurus. 7 mana, pure red. 7 mana, 5/5 with menace. Then whenever it kind of feels really broken, especially if you like think about the Tyranid in red that like whenever a red source deals damage you put a 1/1 counter on it. And then also with all will be one. If you have like those two cards, this card kind of combos with those.
It works with that
really well. So has the ability name is Paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere... Well, here, let me read his second ability first. It's whenever Flaming Tyrannosaurus dies, it deals damage equal to his power to each opponent.
To each opponent. Okay.
So if it dies, it deals 5 damage right off the bat. But
good.
Here's the kicker. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Flaming Tyrannosaur deals 3 damage to any target. Then put a 1/1 counter on Flaming Tyrannosaur.
Wow. If he wasn't 7 mana, that's really good, though.
Not a legendary either.
I was like, I can find a use for that. There's a lot of red decks now that are cast from exile.
Yeah.
It's very common, actually, in red now.
Yeah.
And so that can be a finisher. Anytime you cast a spell from just not your hand, or does it...
Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand.
Other than your hand. That includes your commander, command zone.
And the graveyard.
And the graveyard.
And exile.
And exile.
And suspend.
Yeah, suspend is exile. And your library. There's only one card in the game that you can cast from your library. It's weird.
Well, not necessarily. You can cast cards from the top of your library.
Yes. I mean, like, specifically, Pan Glacial Worm is like a meme card because it's whenever you're searching your library, you can cast Pan Glacial Worm. He's like
interesting.
He's like an 8 mana, 8/5. But it's like, oh, I'm gonna cast Cultivate, I'll go get a land in, and then I'll cast Pan Glacial Worm. Like, it's a really old card from a really old set of Magic,
weird.
but it's hilarious. Yeah, so anytime you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, 3 damage to any target is relevant, and then the 1/1 counter, so he's building up the ticking time bomb of when he dies. So maybe you want to do more graveyard shenanigans too, because if somebody exiles him, you want a way to sacrifice him right away to destroy him.
Well, and I'm thinking, throwing all will be one on there, and instead of 3 damage, it does 4 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the...
He gets extra counters if you have the other red Tyranid out. Well, if you have the other red Tyranid out, you win the game.
With all the
with
one,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
one, yeah.
But I'm saying like you have either of them out,
Yeah, it's
it gets
good synergy.
yeah.
Good synergy.
If I were building a red deck with this guy in it, I would put the other two in the same deck.
Prosper
Probably.
he was kind of the first commander. He's kind of the iconic like cast from exile commander now. He's red black, so that works. You've seen my deck just last week. It's the red green was like the red green version of Prosper. But there's tons of mono red. There's other red green. There's red black. Yeah, there's a lot. That's cool.
Pretty good.
Red blue in this set does a lot of suspend, which is casting from exile. So that's probably why that's in that deck, I imagine.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool
Yeah.
kind of a cool card.
End take is Steven buying Doctor Who decks, Doctor Who cards on the secondary market, perhaps?
Is Steven just printing? If I'm building a deck, I'm printing.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this though because it does feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've noticed this. I have 2 proxy decks now, and normal decks, right?
Yeah.
And the normal decks feel different to play than the proxy decks do. Even though, not in terms of like actual gameplay, but just in terms of like I have this card and it's like actually the card.
Yeah.
It's been a weird feeling because I've never had that feeling before necessarily.
Interesting. Maybe we can do a deep dive into that.
I just don't want to spend the money though.
Yeah. No, I got you. That is always what it comes down to.
I've honestly started thinking, and maybe this is dumb on my part, but it's a thought of buying some of the more collectible packs. And with the Doctor Who stuff, it is a collectible, just like the Warhammer stuff, right?
Totally.
But maybe I'll buy a couple of maybe I'll buy like the all of the Doctor cards and just put them in like a frame or something, like just for fun or whatever, right? Just as like a collection piece, just like I did with the Smartass card, the Donkey cards, right?
Donkeys.
Oh, I have to make that anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see. Cool. All
We'll
right.
see. Sounds like a good episode to me.
Welp.
Slaps
knee.
Alrighty. Are we gonna attempt to play some CS:GO today? Or CS2?
CS2.
CS2? Alrighty. Catch you next time, friends.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the 5G podcast. We hope you enjoyed.
As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content.
We're available on all social medias, as well as you can watch or listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Again, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next week.
Thanks.